Hey, my friends. Hey, how's it going? It's like 10:36. It's August 22nd, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Real Life Ernie. In an hour and 24 minutes, it's my birthday, friends. I'll be 62 years old. Yep. Usually I'm very rejoiceful about my birthdays because when I was 41, I flatlined. I flatlined and I died, my friends. They gave me the shot of the chest. They did the paddles. I was unconscious for 5 days, and I was off work for 6 months. The only reason why I'm alive and talking to you now, my friends, is because my brother took me to the ER, and that's where I had my incident. So by the grace of God, I'm here talking to you, friends. My glasses are really dirty. My glasses are really dirty because I'm smoking a vape. Because at this moment in my life, my friends, I'm under a lot of stress. And I can't smoke cigarettes anymore because of my heart. So I've been trying to smoke a vape. It's not the same. I don't know. It's been a rough year. It's been a rough year. Not gonna lie. It's been bittersweet. Where's my tea? Got my hole-in-one cup. I'm a big Snoopy fan. But usually people my age, I'm a boomer. This is what I grew up watching. Snoopy cartoons. Holiday specials. Yeah, friends, as you can see, I got my Animal Crossing behind me there. Love that game. And in fact, that's what I should be working on right now. I got my birthday party tomorrow on my Saturday stream, but pardon me, I'm all phlegmy. That pollen's been really bad, a lot of rain. I've just been sitting here listening to music, my friends. Just been here listening to music, just thinking about life and everything that's been happening, everything that's happened in my life, And it's been a lot. Now you see this orange shirt I'm wearing, my friends? I've been wearing this shirt for once a week since August 11th, 2012. That was the day I got married. So Linda, my ex, soon-to-be ex, we're high school sweethearts, my friends. That's what we were, high school sweethearts. I was 14, she was 15. We went on our first date. We have a child together. We had a second child, but we didn't happen. That's sad. Sad things happen to everybody. But so yeah, this divorce is kicking my butt. So this used to mean a lot. This shirt was, I don't know if my ex ever noticed that I wore this shirt. I was trying to send a message. Maybe I should have said something. I don't know. I speak with symbols, and even though I'm a chattermouth and I can blab for 2 hours in my streams, sometimes as a man, I have trouble conveying how I feel. So usually, because I'm an artist and I draw and I paint, that I talk in symbols and this used to be like the symbol I was trying to convey that hey, I was happy about being married, but ain't a thing no more. But that's not what this video is about. See, what this video is about, my friend, is in an hour and 20 minutes, I'm going to be 62 years old. When my life would have ended as being as 41. So, I've been really trying with my life, my friends, to pay it forward, to pay it back, Been trying to do good stuff, do a lot of good deeds. I don't really talk about it. It's the usual stuff, helping people, giving people food, being there to comfort people, taking food to sick friends, that kind of stuff. The stuff that the Bible talks about. Actually, not the Bible that Jesus talks about, I didn't visit anybody in jail because, I didn't know anybody in jail. But I've been in jail myself, my friends. I was in jail for a month. Back when I was in my 20s, I had hair down to my waist. I think I was like 27, maybe 26. I was in a band. I used to be a singer for a rock band. And we were called the New Mutants, like the animal new. GNU, Mutants. It was a play on like the Marvel comics. We were all comic nerds. And so yeah. So yeah, I used to be in a band. And I got stopped on a traffic violation. Went to jail. I spent the month there, It was crazy. This was in Los Angeles, California, back when the Twin Towers were still there, right? And it was crazy. I actually ended up being in this LA County jail and San Bernardino County jail. And so between the two of them, it was about a month combined. So I just did time served for my fines. Basically it was all traffic violations. Fix it tickets, that kind of stuff. I was a bad procrastinator when I was a young man. Thank God it was never a DUI, even though I used to be a heavy drinker, my friends. And thank God I stopped when I had my heart attack. And, but yeah. So, when I went to jail, I drew. I drew for people. I remember, they had the little pencils, like the kind you get at the bowling alley, really small. And so I took that, I put it in my pocket when I was supposed to. And then, oh no, the pencil I was able to have. I'm sorry. I took an apple from the dining area, right? Put it in my pocket. And then what I did was, I saw a gentleman with a bigger pencil with an eraser on it, right? So I said, hey, I draw. Can I trade you my pencil and this apple for your pencil? And he said, yeah, if I draw him a picture. And so I said, what do you want me to draw? And so he says, draw me as a Roman soldier stabbing Jesus while he's on the cross. So I said, okay, I can do that. And so what I was drawing on, my friends, was little tobacco boxes. So the size of a cigarette box, they had basically rolling tobacco, right? And that's back when you were allowed to smoke in jail. So we're talking, this was in the 80s. This is a long time ago, okay? And so what I was doing at the time was I would go into the trash can, take these empty cigarette boxes and rip them up and draw on the little front and back panels on the inside, And so that's what I was drawing on originally. So I had the guy, stand up and do like this. And then basically I drew him, stabbing Jesus on the cross, And I gave it to him. And then he gave me the pencil. And then, and so I started drawing some other pictures. And then once I got to San Bernardino County Jail, of course, when I got transferred to a different jail, I lost my pencil. I had to start from square one. Now at the San Bernardino County Jail, they didn't give you a pencil like LA County Jail. I didn't have a pencil at all, right? So I saw this one guy drawing. And I says, hey, I draw too, do you have like an extra pencil? And he says, I'll give you this one if you draw me something. I said, well, what, man? And he says, I want you to draw me, and he was messing with me. He was screwing with me, right? He says, I want you to draw me naked vampire women flying in the air with machine guns fighting killer robots. I said, okay, bro, I can do that. Well, I didn't say, okay, bro, I can do that. I'm paraphrasing, but generally he said I can do that. So he actually gave me some line paper, and he gave me a pencil, and I drew the picture. And I had naked vampire women with machine guns with big wings. They were topless. I had one lady getting a vampire, not really a lady, because, it's a vampire, It was a very sexist picture, because I was in jail, and that's what he wanted. And, I wanted a pencil, so I gave him what he wanted. And so, yeah, so I had, so one of them basically was like, blowing up, and I had the Terminator-looking robots with machine guns and treadmills, and, he kept the drawing. And it probably ended up in the trash, who knows? Maybe he even has this still, who knows, This was a long time ago. We're talking like 40 years. Okay, so yeah. And yeah. So, long story short, I got my pencil, okay? Now, so basically what this gentleman was doing was he was taking Skittles, soaking them in water, and painting little pictures with them, right? So he was tracing the pictures. So I drew him a pattern book. So I drew him like 25 different patterns. Basically, I drew him tattoo patterns, right? all kinds of stuff. I just sat there and I drew like 5 pictures per page. I remember drawing a lot of stuff for him. But before I did that, he was getting me jobs where I would draw in envelopes for people, right? So, and so basically you would get like an item for drawing. An item be like a pack of crackers, a Slim Jim kind of thing, some kind of little food treat thing. And so this guy would tell people like, oh, so he was my agent. He said, I'm your agent now. So he walked around and got me jobs, right? Because I told him I was going to draw him all these patterns. So that's why he was my agent. So, so basically, he would go up to people and say, hey, this guy can draw. And it was a big thing to draw pictures on envelopes when they sent them back to their loved ones, right? So the first drawing I did, now this was a whole different scale of drawings than stabbing the guy in the cross, okay? This was different. So this was drawings I was doing on people's envelopes to send back to their family, right? So I had this one, Hispanic gentleman, mostly Hispanic, and so black, white, and Hispanic is what I had. Okay, so the first picture was this guy gave me his picture of his kids, right? And I said, can you draw my kids? I said, yeah, I can. Because, I was, at the time, I was young, and I was at my peak, and I was a damn good artist, okay? So the guy had his picture as a boy and a girl. So he said, so I told the guy, I said, man, sit like this. So I had him, he was sitting like this, and then I drew him with his arms around his kids. Oh God, this Cholo dude was all broken up, okay? So I did that, I got 2 items. So I got 2 items for everything I did. Now another drawing the guy wanted me to draw a picture of his girlfriend. So I drew a picture of his girlfriend as a mermaid on a rock, okay? So I was really good. I was a really good artist at the time. I need to get back into it, because it's a waste of a God-given talent. Sorry, God, I'll get back into it. When my eyesight went bad, I stopped kind of drawing, and I've been trying to get back into it. And, so back to my story, my friends. So I drew a bunch of envelopes for people, right? I got a bunch of treats. I had people looking out for me. Nobody picked on me, So now people called me Indian because I had hair down to my waist, okay? Because, I was in a rock band and I always had long hair, and my hair was like thicker and, a little more lush. And I was young. I was a handsome young man. And so, because I was in a band, But yeah. So I did my time in jail. I got out, okay? That's one of the interesting things, okay? I used to, for a year, for one summer, I tried to sell artwork instead of doing a job. And because I used to airbrush, and I did all kinds of, I did airbrushing, I painted plasterware, and I had all these arts and crafts, and I tried to do that for a summer. And one summer, one weekend I'd make a lot of money, and one weekend I would make no money. So I only did that for a summer because I got nervous and I just went back to my job. Now, I've always been a picture framer, and so I've always worked with the arts, okay? And I did that for 28 years. 28 years I worked as a picture framer, and I got to handle a lot of neat artwork, okay? Now, when I was living in California, that's where I started picture framing originally, fresh out of high school pretty much. I used to work for a place called Aaron Brothers Art Marts. And basically, I worked for them for a while, and then I left them, and then I worked in the printing industry for a tiny bit. And I used to work in the dark room, and I used to shoot plates and make plates and for like a small printing place, like little indoor printing, And I used to do layups and stuff, and I actually lost my job because that went from computers. Because see, when I was in high school, I used to work on the yearbook staff. So I used to do paste up and layout. Okay, I also worked on the newspaper staff in high school, and I also used to do paste up and layout, and I used to draw political cartoons. Okay, pretty tame, for high school, but I used to draw cartoons. Okay. And then, so I've always been very active. For the yearbook, I did illustrations, okay? And then, so that's why I had that paste up layout experience. And so I did that for a tiny bit. I worked in the printing industry for maybe about 2 years before I lost my jobs to a computer. And then for the longest time, I hated computers. This is back, Oh God! Now when I'm speaking computers, my friend, I'm not talking like these high-tech beauties behind me. I'm talking like Windows 3.1 computers, dude. I'm talking like old-fashioned bricks, Macintosh with the tiny screens that big. We're talking old computers, okay? You know, you know. So I mean, your phone would have your phone would have more power than the computers that replaced me back in the 80s, okay? And so then I got back into picture framing, and I got to see the neatest things: old movie posters, autograph stuff. Now the coolest thing I got to see was back in the 90s. I used to work at a place called the Great Frame Up here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we had this autograph collector, and he had amazing autographs. Okay, so when he came in, and so he, basically my boss told him like I was like the best in this shop and blah blah blah. So what he had, my friends, is he had a White House memo signed by Marilyn Monroe. And I kid you not. I mean, that was the most craziest valuable thing I've seen, okay? So he talked to me, he talked to my boss, he saw my work, so he trusted me, okay? So basically, I took the measurements. Now, when I was working with this autograph page, it was in an acetate, like sleeve, and he never left my side. So I was measuring, he was standing right here, not looking over my shoulder because he respected my artistry, but he stood there and that paper never left his sight, never left his sight. So I did all my measuring, bum, 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 and then I got everything ready, I cut the mats, I got the frame ready, and I called him back a couple of days later, and then we made sure everything fit. Okay, once we made sure everything fit, I put it in the frame, same thing. That man never left my side, never left my side. And I thanked him for the opportunity of framing such a rare artifact, okay? Now, I also, when I lived in Portland, Oregon, and when I worked at the Clackamas Town Center, and that was the great frame up as well, because that was a chain. And so basically, I got to frame basically what it was. It was the fight where oh God, I'm blanking on the name here. A lot of sports memorabilia. Okay, so there was a sports fan, and there was a lot of sports stuff. I got to work with. That was interesting. So now when I moved to Santa Fe, because I lived in Santa Fe, first to California, to Mexico, Oregon, back to New Mexico. So most of the finer artwork was here in New Mexico. I mean, I got to work with paintings that were valued at $200,000. One of the cooler things I got to work with was I'm sorry, my friends. I'm just really bad with names right now. It's been just a really an emotional night. I got a little teary-eyed earlier just listening to songs, just thinking about how this is a sad birthday. But yeah, so one of Picasso's girlfriends, they made a movie about her, and I got to frame her artwork when I worked in California. I got to frame a lot of neat things. Now, fortunately for me, when I started picture framing, it was still early in the 80s. There was still a lot of, conservation wasn't a big thing. And I had the people that trained me were two nice gentlemen in their 70s, okay? I got to learn a lot of old school stuff, okay? And, yeah, I don't know. I didn't mean this to turn into just the meandering grandpa, I'm old video. But heck, it's 19 minutes in, and that's what it's been. Oh, yeah. I don't know, friends. I don't know. Then I got my harmonica case. So whenever I do my live streams and you guys do a raid, I play harmonica songs. Now some of these harmonica cases are empty. The harmonicas are long gone. I can't find them anymore. So basically, my friends, these are the harmonicas I played when I used to be in the band back in the 90s, okay? My oldest harmonica is this guy right. Oh, not that one. Oh, I'm sorry. Now this guy right here. See, this gets pretty old, my friends. So you can see how rusted it is. I've had this harmonica for like 40 years, okay? And when I bought this harmonica, yeah, I bought it at an antique store. It was already old, okay? So it's probably, I would say at least 50, 60 years old. You know, I cleaned it up, you know, but it's a pretty high key. It's a key F. You know, I bought this before I knew anything about harmonicas. This was my very first harmonica. Um, you know, now usually I like to play either a B flat or a C because I can do my vocal range is like that more. When I was a lot younger, I used to be able to really hit really high. You know, it was like like metal. I used to sing like a lot of metal covers, rock covers, and oh God, it's I thank God every day for life. Even in these difficult times right now, like the divorce I'm going through, I'm still thankful for my life because I should have died, and I'm thankful for every day. I'm thankful for the good days, and I'm thankful for the bad. And unfortunately, it's been a lot of bad lately, but I'm getting through it. I'm not gonna lie, my friends. It's been a difficult time. Um, oh God. Um, Mid-July, I wasn't even sure if I was going to pay the mortgage. I was talking to the mortgage company what to do. Um, I've been borrowing money every month since December to try to cover the costs so we don't lose the home because it's for sale. And I borrowed so much money that I need to sell this house. And so, so that's been kind of aggravating to have to scramble for the cash. Uh, but basically, once I sell this home, I'll be golden and I can start my new life, okay? At one point, um, I'm going to be moving to Albuquerque, New Mexico, right? And at one point, I've been, I used to be a salesman, okay? So my job as a picture framer was you would bring in your $25 poster, and when you walked out the door, yeah, I had you spending $400 to $500 on it. I was good. I was good at what I did because I cared about what you cared about, and it was my job to make it look good. If you couldn't spend a lot of money, I still made it look good within your budget. And I remember I used to have a talking to about my bosses about that, about how I had too many low ticket jobs. And even though I had a bunch of, I was number two salesperson in my shop. And then I had to tell like my boss, like, hey, those $150 jobs, 200 jobs you're talking about, that's money that could have walked out. But now I can guarantee you they're going to save some money and they're going to come back and get a better job. See, people don't know how to sell. It's all about they don't have vision. They don't have long vision. It's all about the quick payoff. I noticed that years ago. I've been in retail for 40 years, if not longer. And I used to, every job I've had, I've always been a manager. This is the first job I've not been a manager. I'm basically, I work at Walmart, and I'm an asset. What it is I'm an asset protection customer host. Okay, so basically, what I do, I'm all rambly. I'm sorry, my friends. I'm Grandpa Simpson. I'm Grandpa Simpson telling the onion story. Okay, and this is how I've always been. Ooh, did I just hear some thunder? Am I gonna have rain and thunder and lightning on my birthday? Probably, huh? Okay, how are we doing, friends? 24 minutes. Ooh, pardon me, I'm all bumping stuff. Oh, wow, bumping stuff. Yeah. I'm glad to be alive. When Linda and myself, we had some tough times. when I got laid off from my job when the art market fell down, so basically you know, in 2018, um, you know, the art market just collapsed, and I was a framing manager at a shop. I was making really good money, and then I basically, that's how I ended up at Walmart. And that was just gonna be a temporary job, just for like a couple of months so I can get back into framing. And it's gonna be 11 years in October. And it's funny that October is that month, my friends, because October is also the month that I almost died. And then October is going to be 11 years at Walmart. And then so Walmart, so I used to, so when I was at Walmart, I was there for 3 months. For 3 months, I was at Walmart, and then I ended up becoming a manager. I was a manager for them for 3 years. And then I had to step down because of my health, okay? That's when I started having problems with my heart. Because, and I was already in my 50s at the time already, okay? And I've always been a hard worker, and it's hard for me to turn it off. I work way harder than I should, my friends, but I don't know how to shut it off. My younger brother, Dave, is the same way. We're like one-man wrecking crews, okay? And it's just really hard. Now, when I used to work for Michael's Craft Store, I was a manager there as well, too. And then they got to the point where they would send me to frame shops, broken frame shops, and I would start going through all their paperwork, all their books, all their orders. So basically, I would audit their shop and get them back running on schedule. I did that for like a year and a half. It was pretty fun, but then I missed having a home store. What was fun about it was, is they would put me up in a motel for a week to 2 weeks at a time, So I got to go to different cities. It was exciting and fun, but I was basically a hatchet man, okay? And when I worked for Aaron Brothers, it became the same thing, where they would send me to different frame shops, and they were broken, and I would get them running, okay? I used to fire a lot of people, okay? And I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. When I was younger, it didn't bother me because I was like, if you can't do the job, you don't belong here. I had that mentality, okay? I used to be a hard ass, okay? And then once I had my heart attack, that was the best thing that happened to me, okay? Having my heart attack was the best thing that happened to me because I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, and I became a kind and loving person. I was still kind and loving, but I was all business. And when it came to work, I didn't screw around. I was all business, okay? And, I could have moved up the corporate ladder, but thank God, God had a plan, and it took me dying to kick the plan in. So that's why in my streams, I try to be really positive, and I don't trash talk, and I try to be funny and happy. Now, the way I act in my streams is how I act in real life. Okay, I have a lot of personality, and so and what you see is what you get. So that's why in some of my videos and streams, I sound a little down. Sometimes I sound a little up. It's been the last 8 months where I've been sounding a lot more down on stuff, but I haven't stopped. I've never taken a vacation since I started YouTube, my friends. This is my 3rd year of YouTube, and I love it, okay? I primarily do like video games, Animal Crossing, Dinkum, Disney, Dreamlight Valley. I dabble in some other games. I make these videos where I just do my grandpa talks, and I had my storage videos where I try to show you how to get a storage, and I don't know. I love being a content creator, and I got like 1,500 something videos, my friends. I got like 21,000 watch hours. I have like 260K, over 250,000 views. Thank you, all you friends. Thank you. I'm right now. Since they started auto dubbing me, I've been picking up, people in Italy, Belgium, Germany. Hey, thanks, friends. Hong Kong. Thanks for watching, my friends. I really appreciate it. It's so fun to spend time with you guys. And I got some ideas for making some live action stuff that me and my best friend Jesse's going to help me with. I'm not going to say too much about it. I don't want to like jinx anything, but I got plans, okay? Ah, I just love doing this. I just love doing this. I don't have a lot of friends in real life. As you find as you get older, my friends, that your friend count kind of shrinks. You don't have a lot of friends, but the friends you have are better. It's basically separating the wheat from the chaff. I hit this again, sorry. And that's basically what it is. Well, how are we doing on time, friends? Oh, 11 o'clock. 30 minutes. We'll go on a couple of more minutes and then we'll cut this off. Because I got to get on my Animal Crossing stream and I got to get ready for tomorrow. Because it's my birthday tomorrow. It's my birthday in an hour. That's what this was about. It was just about my birthday. I was going to talk about my life, which I have been. And what's pretty fun and wonderful is how this part of my life is we share these moments together. And even though I can't see you guys, I know you're on the other side of the screen. And the stuff I'm talking about, I know some of you experience this. Because remember, my friends, you're never alone. If it's happened to you, it's happened to somebody else, okay? There's nothing new under the sun, all right? And so that's why I like making these videos, because it makes you feel not alone. Because I know I'm probably helping somebody. Now, my friend was suggesting that I start making videos talking about divorce and how to guide you through it. But I'm not going to do that because, for one thing, I don't have any schooling in that. And that's a very important thing that you only watch people that have experience and know what they're talking about, right? Anybody can make a video and post it up, okay? So if I do talk about my divorce, I'm talking about it from my aspect and my impressions. I'm not giving advice to nobody because I don't have no good advice to give. I gotta tell you, I have friends giving me advice right now. So now I got a friend of mine who's giving me dating advice. He's a few years older than I am, and even though I told him dude, I'm not ready to date yet. Dating's a lot. I'm terrified of the idea of having to go out on a date. I've only dated 6 ladies in my life, and one of them was my ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife. And probably oh God, 2 of those are from the high school times. It's just no infidelity. We never cheated. We just grew apart. We started off too young. I don't know. That's not I can't not talk about my life without talking about that. But yeah. So my friend's giving me dating advice, and another friend of mine, I don't know, he's giving me advice too, but I'm not really. And then I've been watching videos. There's a lot of negativity, my friends. A lot of negativity and hurt feelings and people trying to make the clicks and cash with the wrong motivations. There's people out there with good motivations, but they're not giving good advice, So, but I'm not going to dip my toe into that pool, my friends. My job is to make funny game videos to make you laugh. My job is to be a court jester. My job is not to be a clown, but to entertain. I've always been an entertainer. Okay, I used to do poetry readings. I used to write poetry. I made some little books. Back when self-publishing was a big thing because I worked in a printing industry. I had experience. My little books look good. And then, I sang. I used to sing in bars and sang in a band. So, I'm very comfortable with making videos like this. I'm very comfortable with talking to you without seeing you because I know you're there. So that's why That's why we feel so comfortable. At least I hope you guys feel comfortable when you watch my videos. I hope you feel like we're friends, because we are. You know, this is a digital age, my friends. This is a whole different time. You know, when when my niece was younger, back before I started really having an online presence, and she used to play a lot of online games. I said, hey, why don't you get out of the house and go hang out with your friends? And then she said, I am hanging out with my friends. It didn't click with me then, but it clicks with me now, okay? I get it now, okay? I'm late to the parade, but I get it now. This is going to be a little longer than normal, my friends. I should make it 62 minutes long for every minute I've been alive. I could talk for that long, believe me, I can. But I got to make an Animal Crossing video, and really quick. I got to get my party ready, because tomorrow's my birthday. It's my birthday in an hour. So on my Saturday stream, basically it's 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 Mountain, 7 Central, and 8 Eastern. Artist Stern on YouTube. You guys know who I am. I think that I hope you do. But yes, I love playing Animal Crossing. That's how I got into doing this, my friends. Is I got really really sick. I got really really sick, and I started passing out and fainting. I lost 20 pounds, and I thought I was going to die. It wasn't looking good. It wasn't looking good. And so I was home for a month, okay? And so basically, I was like an avid Animal Crossing player. New Horizons is my first Animal Crossing game. So I would do since I was home and I wasn't working, I was doing all the dream things. I was trying to do the dream tours, that people would pick up your dream tours to your island. And then Dan from Crossing Minute, that's the one I want to get. I finally got on there. I got on there, and what the hook was is I would type working golf course using the dice, okay? Because I had a little golf course, you roll the dice, and that's how you figure the golf game. I got to rebuild it. I restarted my island because divorce. Okay. Yeah, I know. It sounds like my ex-wife had custody. I know. I just had to do it for my psyche sense. And then we had too many memories on the island together. It made me sad. And I had great advice from my friend, Poopy Marine Crispy, saying I should restart my islands. And I'm glad I did it. Because I had my OG island for 5 years, friends. For 5 years, I had my island, same island, almost the same animals too. And so basically, boop, I started over. And I'm glad I did. But yeah. So that's how, yeah. So basically, Dan from Crossing Minute. Hey, Dan, I don't know if you know who I am, my friend. But you really inspired me, sir. I don't know why I'm calling you sir. I'm old enough to be your dad. but man, you really inspired me by making that 40-second video about my golf course. And I was really hoping you were going to burn my island, but you showed my island a lot of respect, and you gave me the motivation to be a YouTube streamer, and thank God I did. Chuck Troll is the other gentleman who inspired me to start streaming, because I found out he was doing it on his phone. And then Car H, he's a gentleman I loved, watching his Animal Crossing things, and that's where I got the sense of community from, and how special it was to visit people's islands. So for me, it's all about group events. So tomorrow's going to be my summer games. It's my little Olympics. This will be like my third time doing it, okay? And then I'll be doing my football games. I make a stadium. So I make all these. So in the Animal Crossing game, you can roll a digital dice, and it comes up either 1 through 6. So I made a bowling alley, basketball. I made all these games where you roll the dice, and that's how you play. And people come over to my island while they're on live streams, and they compete. I have fashion shows. I kind of treat my Animal Crossing like a novella, right? Or like a soap opera, where I tell a story. Okay. Now lately, I haven't done that, because that all fell apart in December when my life turned into a story. And so, and I've been doing my best. not to have my sadness bleed into my online life, because I see it as my mission to hold back my inner tears so I can make you laugh, to make you forget about your tears. And for a while, that job was kicking my butt. There's been a couple of times, oh God, oh geez, was it last month I had run out of the store because I heard a song on the music that made me start crying. I couldn't stop, and I sat in the car for a half hour, and then it's mostly music. That's my trigger. I'm kind of over it. Not like over it like whatever. Like I should say I've come to terms with it. Over it implies that I never cared. Okay, coming to terms means I'm dealing with it. Okay, 'cause I cared because she was a big part of my life, and I'd be a monster if I didn't care. And I'm not a monster. I don't think I am. Or God would strike me down. He wouldn't have gave me that chance in that hospital room. I saw them working on me, friends. I saw them working on me. And how I know is because when I talked to one of the nurses, I said a couple of things that kind of tripped them out. Because yeah, I believe I believe I was held back for a reason. And I want to think this is the reason. That maybe my levity and my jokes kind of maybe pull somebody from a dark moment, make them feel they're not alone, because you're not, my friends. We're not alone. We're all on the same big rock together. We're only alone in our minds. Okay, people have so much in common. You'd be surprised if you talk to them. There's the slightest commonality between us, my friends. We're all on this planet together. There's more unitedness than dividedness. Sometimes you just got to see what it is. Sometimes you really got to look hard to see what it is, Sometimes it's a far reach. But, you can come to a compromise, But then sometimes you can't. I'm in a situation where you can't. I have no spite. I'm not going to be trash talking, Linda. Why? It's bad karma. I'm a big believer in karma because that's why I'm walking around now, my friends, instead of being in the ground. That was like 21 years ago, friends. 21 years ago in October. Crazy. Generation. That's what I've been thinking about a lot today. Instead of working on my Animal Crossing stream, I've been sitting here for a couple hours just listening to music and just thinking. Oh, hey, look, the screen's went dark. Maybe that's a sign from the algorithm that I should cut this short. That was kind of dramatic, wasn't it? Was that neat? Yeah, life is that way, my friends. Nothing's by accident. Everything lines up. They used to call it the stars and planets lining up. I like to call it the algorithm of life, I'm glad we can spend this time together, friends. Leave me a like in the comment, Now, normally, this would have been posted to my members section only, and this would have been like a members only first. But since we're talking about my life and my birthday, I want to shoot this out first. Hey, members, I'm sorry about bypassing my self-imposed rules, but I just felt like I needed to pop this out because, I don't know. There's been a lot on my mind and soul. I've been dreading this birthday. My wedding anniversary was August 11th. It's so weird because I felt sad, and I didn't, I just felt sad one day, right? I felt sad, And then my mom sent me a text saying, thinking of you, mijo, on this day. I know it must be hard for you being your wedding anniversary. And then it hit me like, oh God, that's right, it is my wedding anniversary. And but my body knew, my mind just kind of forgot, but my body knew. My body knew, and that's why I felt sad. It's kicking my butt. But it's not hopeless. I got a great support system. I got a lot of friends. I got faith in God. Karma, the Great Spirit, whatever name you apply, it's the same thing, my friend. It's the force of good. We all have that duality inside us. Well, we can be either or, my friends. We can be good or we can be bad. It just depends on what you want to feed and what you want to be. It's up to you, okay? So this is where I wind it up. Throw a little bit of wisdom, and I can rationalize me being a windbag for 46 minutes. I might as well just talk like for a minute I've been alive. I'm going to do that anyways. I don't know, friends. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. Just glad I'm alive. Be happy when I sell this house. When I can start. I'm going to transfer to another Walmart. So, me and Linda separated in December of last year. It's going on 8 months. At least once or twice a week, I have a customer asking me, where's your wonderful wife? And it's like a gut punch. It's like that wound can't heal. I got to keep telling the story over and over again. And it's like, so far, it's only been twice this week. And then I had a couple of coworkers who didn't know, some returning ones, some that worked in online shopping. And it's always a shock. And so it's really a drag. It's a drag in all ways, okay? So once I sell this house, where I'm sitting at right now, once I sell this home, I'm moving to Albuquerque. I'll be transferring to a different Walmart. I got a 4-year retirement plan. But I want to go to a store where nobody knows me, okay? So I don't have to keep saying, where's my lovely wife? Another reason why I want to move too is I've been doing asset protection at this Walmart here for almost 8 years now, okay? So for 8 years, I've been kicking people out of the store. I've been helping catch shoplifters, and I got people that don't like me, okay? It's funny how when you catch people stealing and you kick them out of the store, how they can hold a grudge against you, So it's been a while, but for a while, it was a stretch of time for a while where I couldn't go to any fast food restaurant without somebody giving me a hard time, right? And so I'm not a fighter. I'm not gonna go out there and knock heads and stuff, But I'm not gonna let people bully me either, okay? Or if I'm sitting there, if I see somebody getting bullied on, I'm not gonna sit there and not do nothing about it. I'm gonna step up, okay? Because I'm just an old-fashioned guy, right? I got the Chihuahua bravery. Dude, I weigh like 140 pounds, okay? 155 was my top weight ever, okay? So I'm not really like super big, but I'm not afraid of stuff, okay? And I believe in justice and good, okay? So that's why I don't really have, I don't have fear, but I'm not stupid, okay? Because the training I got for being asset protection and all. And so the point I'm making is I want to move to a city where the shoplifters don't recognize me. I need a fresh start, okay? I need a fresh start, and evidently, Linda needs a fresh start. That's why, our marriage ended. It's because we grew apart, okay? And I'll never know exactly. it's okay, because I've come to terms with it, all right? There was one day where I was cleaning out my camera, and there was pictures of me and Linda, and I take a lot of pictures, okay? And I sat there for like an hour, hour and a half, just looking at pictures, trying to see when her face changed. But then I just figured I had to stop, because I'm just torturing myself. And at this time, my mind's going to look for any details and fill the picture in. So doing that is not going to do anything but make things worse. So I stopped doing it because I wasn't going to see no visual clues. All I was deluding myself and just feeding the pain, the sorrow, because I'm going through the 5 stages of grief, because, that lady was a giant part of my life. And so what can you do? You roll with the punches. I'll stop smoking the vape when things chill out. I don't really dig it. I used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I was talking to the person, one of my coworkers, and they're all surprised to see me smoking a vape. So I told them, like, hey, I used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and I used to be, and I'm all stressed, but I can't smoke cigarettes, because of my heart problems and stuff, and then, so this is not great, but it's better than smoking cigarettes. And I don't, I'm not smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, So, and then eventually I'll be stopping this because I have the willpower to, and it's a crutch right now, and I know it's a crutch because, I'm stress smoking, because it's stressful. Divorces are stressful. If divorces were fun, I'd be drinking martinis. I don't know. Oh, God. Who knows, friends? I don't know. Yep, 52 minutes. Hey, I talked for 2. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to talk for 10 more minutes. And this is going to be a 62-minute talk for every minute. A minute for every year I've been alive. Yeah. Hey, what time is it? Oh, God. That was a big one. I almost knocked that over, didn't I? Checking out the time, friends. Okay. Hey, it's 11:30. So in a half hour, I'll be 62. Yeah, I should be, I don't know. I should have been done with my video for Animal Crossing, and I should have went to bed, and I wouldn't have slept anyways. I didn't sleep good at all last night. This has been in my mind. Now, I keep kicking this because it's like right there, my legs are in between the tripod, because, I'm in my little office room. My little dog Oso is right here on my feet. My little Chihuahua. I love this little dog. If I was an animal, I'd be a Chihuahua. I'd be Ren from Ren and Stimpy. I'd be me. Yeah, but my coworkers were surprised to see me smoking a vape. I said, yeah, I'm under a lot of stress and I can't smoke cigarettes. And then I mentioned, hey, because of my heart. And then my coworker felt bad. So I can put my cigarette out. I said, no, don't worry about it. It's not going to kill me, Smells good. Wish I could smoke one, but I can't. So even though I'm in a stressful situation, I found a semi-healthy compromise instead of, going back to cigarettes saying, oh, it's only for a little while. I haven't drank because of the same reason either. I had to quit drinking because of my heart. Because the alcohol thins the blood too much, and it's not good. It makes it too thin. And then, plus it's not good for me. You okay, little boy? I know Papa's almost done. It's okay, I know. He feels the tension. He's really good about that. If I get stressed out, he kind of runs up to me and calms me down. Huh, little boy? Are you Papa's little calmer downer? Yeah. Okay, you can hear him all snorting and stuff. I woke him up. It's okay, buddy. Papa's okay. I'm doing all right. I promise. Yes. I know. You can lay down, little boy. You can lay back down. Papa's all right. But, it's kind of nice because, before I used to be all broken up. I couldn't see a couple walking together without being all like, and I was afraid of being alone and all the usual stuff that soon-to-be divorced men think about. And, you know, so I'm not, I'll make it through this because God doesn't give you a burden you can't handle. And right now I got two managers at work who are helping me out. They've both been through the divorce, and one's a lady, one's a man. So I'm getting two different viewpoints, and they're both positive. It's both I'm getting. These are the two people I'm getting positive, help from and encouragement from, and they ask me how I'm doing. All the managers at my job know what's happening, so if they see me like all sad looking, nobody talks to me. If I walk out really fast, my job's pretty chill with it, I've been there almost 11 years, and I love my job, and they're like family for me, and I'm very thankful for Walmart 829 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and for your support, people. Most of these guys don't even know I stream. Only a handful of people at my job know I'm a YouTube streamer. Nobody knows. It's okay because they don't play these games anyway, so it's all right. It's not their world. It's totally fine. It's our world, friends. This is our world, and I'm glad I get to share it with you. See how my mood goes up and down? It's because that's how I am, my friends. I've always been this way. I've always been like all over the place. For I don't know. Back when I was growing up, they didn't have the testing for the kids to see if if you had problems and stuff, but I did get tested for being really smart. I was in the mentally gifted minors program, and then when I was in high school, that's back when the military used to come in and do testing. That's back they used to be allowed to do that, and I scored really high because I've always been a brainiac, but I've always had the bad health, and the armed forces. I forgot which branch it was. God, Air Force, I think it might have been. Navy. It was one of those. It wasn't Army or Marines. It was one of the techie ones, and they wanted me to sign up, and they were going to teach me computers. They said I was really smart and good at math, but I was really sick. My mom said no, and but I was really sick. I wouldn't have passed anyways, because but yeah, I wish I could have. I wish I could have joined the service because I come from a military family. I have uncles and cousins who are in the service, and I really wanted to be in the service. I've always, I don't know, I've always felt like I should give and contribute. I've always been a helper. I've always been a guardian angel, a watcher. I've always been a manager. I've always been bossy, so it's just like I have those attributes, and so I wish I could have been in the service because I'd be retiring by now, and I would have a better pension and stuff, and I wouldn't be like going through all the difficulties. It's been tough. I'm not gonna lie, my friends. It's been tough, and but I haven't really gone and out with my hand, hat in hand, trying to shake people down for cash. It's not my thing. I got a lot of pride. I'm a proud man, and I don't like to. I hate to ask for help, and usually when I ask for help, it's because that's the last thing I can do. I like to be self-sufficient, and so but I'm making it. I'm gonna make this situation work because I roll with the punches. I'm a problem solver. That's what I've always been in my job. See how I bring this around? I've always been a problem solver for my job. I've always been a fixer. I've always been fixing broken stuff, okay? So now it's time for me to take that experience. 59 minutes. We're going to talk for 62 minutes 1 minute for every year I've been alive. Yep, 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 my friends. Not that it's hard to do. I'm talking for like 4 or 5 hours. What's my longest stream? I think 5 hours. Talk for 5 hours straight. That was hard. I can talk for 3, no problem. 4, I start getting a little tired, but yeah, I'm a chatter. I'm a talker. Okay, friends, we hit the hour mark. 60 minutes. My friends, thank you for listening. I really had to get this stuff off my chest. I've been feeling really morose, but I'm very thankful and I'm always happy to be alive. And I always look for the rainbows. In the darkest storms, there's always a rainbow. There's always a lighthouse in the darkest seas. A rising tide raises all boats. You should always be a helpful hand, not one that pushes people down, but one that lifts ones up, okay? You never should walk on people on the way up because you're going to see them on the way down, my friends. It's never a straight rise. It's always a circle, okay? So you always end up where you began, okay? So you treat people with kindness and you treat people how you want to be treated with. Okay, so when you do good stuff is going to happen to you because when you treat people with kindness, they remember you, okay? And hey, okay, we got 1 more minute and then we're going to call this. We got like about 40 seconds, my friends. Hey, please watch, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I have memberships, price a cup of coffee. I pay bills with that, my friends. I don't make a lot of money. I don't expect to. I do this because I love it. This is going to be my retirement job, as in something to do as I retire, Almost there, friends. Almost there. Hey, you guys are important to me. And I hope I'm important to you. Because we support each other. There it is, friends. 62 minutes, a minute for every year I've been alive. I gotta go. I love you, friends. I'm gonna put this on the internet right now. Talk at you later, friends. Hey, come by my video tomorrow and wish me a happy birthday. Bye for now.